How's your day going so far? It's going okay. Got a I got another content strike the other day. Like yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. They're all false strikes. I went through and I watched every single video that YouTube has about community guidelines. I've never violated the community guidelines, ever. They're all false strikes. They're all incorrect. And that makes me feel better about the situation, knowing that they're false strikes. It means if I appeal high enough and yell loud enough, then if anybody looks at them, if anybody seriously sits down and looks, they will remove it. It's just getting them to actually sit down and look that's the problem, you know. I've gone through like 3 levels of people now, and none of them are looking at it. Like I appeal and they immediately decline the appeal, like immediately, within minutes. Their rules say you're allowed to feature COVID misinformation. You're allowed to have, hate speech of all different types on your channel as long as you're debunking it or addressing it or providing proper context for it. That's what I do. That's my job. That's what I've been doing since day one, so... I've never violated the community guidelines. And before this, I had 0 strikes on my channel for 5 years. So, anyway, it's all just very stressful. Very stressful. Like, all of the same stuff goes to Twitch right now, and Twitch isn't banning me for anything. Believe is Fundies reporting your channels. I believe that too now. It wasn't always Fundies, though, because YouTube themselves gave me strikes on videos that hadn't been released to the public. They were unlisted. So, it's not just Fundies. That's happened twice. Twice. That's happened twice. 2 of the 5 or 6 strikes that I've received so far have been just YouTube giving me strikes on stuff that isn't public. But everything past that, I think it probably is Fundies. I think you may be right. I hate it so much that channels like yours debunking bigotry and misinformation get stroked, and the original channels are fine most of the time, yeah. Well, in this case, the thing that I got cyberbullying, cyberbullying and harassment strike for, it was just me talking. It was me responding to voicemails, honestly. So I really don't even... There was a single clip that was only a few seconds long, and I wasn't even talking about the content of the clip, so... Cyberbullying who? I feel like the voicemail is when you use up the most. Yeah, it's completely absurd to claim that there was no harassment or cyberbullying. I watched the video on harassment and cyberbullying. I know exactly what's allowed and what isn't in terms of YouTube and content guidelines and stuff. There was none of it. There was none of it. It was a false strike. I'm 100% sure. I will stake my livelihood on the fact that it was a false strike and not a real one. So, somebody just came along, saw it, got upset that I released a video, and marked it as cyberbullying. It's not. Like I said, if somebody at YouTube sits down and watches it, they will see that. There was no cyberbullying of any sort as defined by YouTube's community guidelines. Cyberbullying, as defined by YouTube's community guidelines, is releasing private information about them, like an email address or like their name or their real address or phone number, and instructing your fans to go attack them. Either that or, telling your fans to attack somebody on Twitter or something like that. Basically doxing them or targeting them. And that does not include criticizing them. Doesn't include making fun of them or mocking them. That's not part of the cyberbullying, protections. That's part of the monetization protections. I can't get monetized, or I may even get age restricted if I'm like mocking and making fun of them, but I will not get a strike for cyberbullying or harassment. The bar for content strikes is very, very high. YouTube doesn't really want to use content strikes as their means of control. They want to use demonetization and deprioritization as their means of control, basically. Just the whole thing really sucks. It's all very stressful. I've been on high alert since I woke up because I never know if I'm going to wake up and see another strike on my channel. You know, I'm checking my email every 5 minutes to make sure I didn't get another strike. It's, they're all false strikes. I watched through every video YouTube has on their content guidelines. I have not violated any of them. They're all false. I'm 100% sure. The bar is very high to get a content strike, so. Which, again, is why I'm wondering if this whole thing is an inside job. Oh, that could be. I mean, that's a possibility. Honestly, you gotta go with the simplest and most basic explanation, Occam's razor, right? And Occam's razor says the most likely scenario is some fundamentalist group is unhappy with me, doesn't like the fact that I'm out here talking about this stuff, so they're giving me false flag after false flag after false flag. And YouTube is full of people who are too fucking lazy to actually watch, so they just approve the strikes and assume that the person will just go away after they approve the strike and reject the appeal. So Occam's razor says it's fundamentalists coming after me, and YouTube's too lazy to do anything about it as a company, you know. Or too lazy to care. It's the most likely scenario, the one that requires the fewest assumptions, I think. It could be an inside job. It could be somebody at YouTube that doesn't like me, but I know the internal structure of YouTube, and it would be pretty complicated to pull off for a single person. Section of the governing body goes after well-known apostates. Oh, there is, yes. And I've seen exactly what they do when they go after people, because they've gone after others before. Jehovah's Witnesses specifically. But they don't do it like this. They lean on the copyright system. And if they did lean on the copyright system, they could definitely make my life miserable for a while. They wouldn't go after videos that didn't have anything to do with them, for one thing. And for another thing, they have always leaned on the courts to get their dirty work done for them, you know. I think it's probably Greg Locke followers or something. Robin Bullock followers. I mean, who knows? It's some group of followers who are unhappy with the fact that I exist. Patriot Front even, maybe. I mean, who knows? Could be Patriot Front. Hell, could be Pokemon haters. Could be the Q-heads. That's true. I think somebody's coming after me, honestly. I do. Because this is incredibly unusual. 5 years on YouTube, I've never had a content strike before. Never. And suddenly, I get 6 of them within just a month or two, you know. So I started, like, going through my traffic sources, because you can see, like, who comes to your channel and how they get there, right? And there were some interesting ones. There were like there was a massive jump in Facebook links. Like 100 people came to my channel from Facebook inexplicably on one single day about a week ago. And there were no links. I couldn't find any links from Facebook. Also, some place called Daily Kos, Daily KOS, never heard of it before. There's also, like, a big jump in Reddit links. And I couldn't find any, like, I mean, this is just in the past few days. A whole bunch of links from Reddit. I couldn't find a single Reddit post about me or anything, any links at all. I just don't even know. It's very, very weird. And then there were the odd ones. Like, I had a few links from, like, private Signal messages and things like that. But, yeah, I was just looking through the traffic sources. It was pretty interesting. I honestly have no idea. Yeah, it does sound like a hate raid. I think you're right. It sounds like a hate raid. But pinning down where the hate raid came from is impossible. The Facebook group that sent messages about me must be private because I looked all over for it and I could not find it. Same with, like, the Reddit posts that talked about me. It's gone now because I couldn't find a thing about it. I, like, looked pretty hard. But some groups are definitely talking about me right now in private groups, and I'm assuming that's why I'm getting strike after strike. I just wish YouTube would actually, like, review it instead of just approving that this really is a strike for doing something wrong. I have not violated their content guidelines, not once. I just wish YouTube would pull it together. There's a very real and high possibility that my channel will probably get deleted over this, but I think it will be reversed if that happens. So we'll see. It's not Teal Tribe. I haven't heard a peep about you from the tribe in a long time. Well, that means I should probably go after them. Let's see. Could also be somebody I covered recently. I covered Scott McKay, and that dude is just no longer in touch with reality, honestly. He is completely nuts.